the end of the semester, out of my course, these are the 5 things that my students will learn. There's a saying today, teach less more. So they're saying, আমাদের একটা আছে যে we teach to the syllabus. We must cover the syllabus. We must. I don't think that's important. What's important is look at the syllabus, extract 5, 6 things out of it that students should really go away with, which is part of learning objectives. Let them read the books. I understand that you will now say, but ওটা তো পড়ে না, বই খুলে না, বই নাই, এটা ওটা সেটা আছে. So that means we have a situation that needs to change. And how do we address that? That is the thing that we must do very collectively. So as you can see, therefore, learning objectives are for each course. Those objectives must connect to the learning outcomes. What do you want the fundamental changes to be? And that should be incorporated in the mission and vision statement. That's when you will have your graduating student, and you must know, you must at least construct something called a graduating student profile. That here's how I'd like to see my students when they are graduating. So all these 4 are interconnected. That's when you will deliver what we call the essence of what you want to achieve. In my view, who are the great teachers? These are the people who embrace the profession. They do this with total commitment. Great teachers are very passionate. They're very engaged. Must be very confident, creative, knowledgeable, organizer, create ambience. Now this is my list. If any of you think you want to add a little bit more, let's have a 5-minute conversation on that. Do you think this is enough, or do you think we need to add something else to it? Yes?
I think a great teacher should inspire others.
Okay.
Inspire.
All right.
They should be great communicators.
Great communicator. All right. Very good. Anything else?
Honest and fair. Honest and fair.
Honest and fair. This is a very good addition, I think, because there is always a gap between faculty thinking what they have given as fair and students. Have you heard of rubrics? How many of you have rubrics? How many of you actually prepare lesson plans? These are very important. Nowadays, if you look at the science of teaching, then you have to have your objectives. With your objectives, you should have your lesson plan. Each lecture, you must have a plan. How do you want to deliver it? With those plans, you must have some rubrics. What are you trying to accomplish in there? And at the end of the day, you establish a fairness that this is how you will be evaluated. There are times I hear stories from various elements that the faculty member does not even share the exam or the report with the students. So that sometimes stuns me, that here is a student who's worked very hard to prepare a report, and there's no feedback on that. If you don't do that, then you may be perceived as unfair, you may be perceived as unjust, and there are many ways in which you can reduce this rift between the faculty and the student. So great additions, communicator. Obviously, if you're not a great communicator, you will not be reaching students, and honest and fair. And a third one you said was inspirational. A great teacher will be strategic. Explain that to me. Let everyone hear.
Usually a teacher teaches what to learn to the students, like learn this, learn reading, learn writing. But I think a teacher should teach how to read and how to write. That means learn to learn, teach to learn, not what to learn. The teacher will explain that follow these strategies and you will keep learning throughout your life instead of learn this or learn that.
Okay.
So teach the students the strategies of learning, not what to learn.
Excellent. So I think again this emerges over time in your lifetime. You want to add one more?
Hello, I'm Shafiqul Islam, Assistant Professor, School of Business and Economics. I want to add one more point. I'm not sure it is overlapping or not. That is self-accountability. It is because teachers enjoys more freedom than other professions, and some research shows that teachers do not scrutinize their student scripts most of the time. So in that case, it's become a problematic issue. So not overlapping, then it can be added.
So what is the word you said? Self-accountable. This is another discussion we had at Singapore. The discussion was there must be academic freedom. This is highly stressed. But then they also stress you cannot be free without being accountable. So there must be accountability of using that time of freedom, how you do that. Otherwise, it does not work. So I think in our systems we have some academic freedom, but accountability is sometimes lacking, particularly in terms of faculty coming to class on time, taking exams, whatever they do in the classroom. There's all kinds of things that happen that need to be fixed, and those are the things that you have to do with contemplation. Please let me know when the break time is, and then we will take a break. But these are great teachers, but let me share what I get from the field about what happens in a classroom, so that there are bad apples too. And these bad apples, I will give you a sampling from the field. When we recruit new teachers, we ask them, have you had a bad experience in your learning? And what was that bad experience? Because we don't want them to do that, you see. So we want them to first make a list of what are the bad experience, and then see, these are things you don't want to do in your classroom. So as I go through each one of them, please raise your hands to show me how many of you have ever experienced this in your life when you were students. Okay? First one, teacher does not take class regularly and has many excuses to be busy. How many of you experienced that? The entire class. Very good. All right. Number two, could not make the class interactive. Look at this. So I'm giving you the fundamentals of what happens here in Bangladesh. Use the traditional lecture method and taught straight from the book. I see every hand up and all three of them. Okay? Number four, did not have a clear idea of either content or materials. Okay? So that's very depressing, isn't it? If you want to characterize your teaching environment, think about it, what this means. Let's share some more. Course outline of the teacher was not up to date. Course outline nine. Oh, kono din pan nai apnara. So you don't even know je ei rail gadi ta kothay jacche. If you don't have an outline, then you don't have a destination. Bolen, I want to hear some reactions on this one, please. Like to share this around. Bolen.
Like there was no course outline. We only had the syllabus technique, which is outdated, and we don't know which was the book or which was the textbook sometimes. Yeah. They're just giving the lectures now.
I will not ask you which university it was because I don't want to go in. Even IBA. Okay. All right. Any other thoughts on this? I think this one excited everyone the most. That teachers don't give any outlines. Okay. You want to add to that, please?
some of the faculties didn't have any outlines and they used to refer 18-20 books. Okay. And we didn't know which one to purchase. They used to bring a new book every day in every class. So what we had to do, we had to follow the lectures and what faculties lecturing us, and then we'll have to find out what these things are available, where these things are available, and then we'll have to create a course outline of our own from which we'll study.
Okay. So this was the sage on the stage, right? Who brought with him 20 books to show how much he knows and to impress you that he is the sage and that you know nothing.
Is it bad? My question is it bad? I mean, at IBM or I'm sure at you, where we do not have any clue, we have to be prepared, people like commandos, and that's I mean, I don't know.
You want to do commando training here? I encourage you to do that. But if there's a revolution and these commandos overtake you, then that's another matter. So I'm not going to encourage you to do that. I think the scientific approach, the scientific way of teaching is, student must know why they're in the class and what they will get. And I think clarity in this is very important. Look at this one. Not approachable or friendly. How many of you experience this? শিক্ষক অ্যাপ্রোচেবলই না, কালকে আসো, অথবা এমন অ্যাটিটিউড যে ওর ভয়ে আসাই যায় না সামনে। Okay? So laughed at us if we could not answer, as if it was our fault that we did not know the answer. How many experience this? Acha, fewer, not too many, but I think it still exists. So, let's go back a little bit about the bad apples. So do you realize what you should not be doing in the classroom? And this is only, I've just shared with you 7. I think I have on my list about 20 of these. And I do want to write another op-ed piece on this. I think there was an op-ed piece on this in the Daily Star. And and you know what, I encourage all of you to, even as a start, if you want to start going from the teacher to the scholar, you don't always have to write in high quality journals. Start with op-ed pieces. Write a small something that is an opinion of yours, that is read by others. Even if you can do that, you're making that transition from one stage to the next. Don't expect things will happen overnight, you know. So things take time. So is this a good time to take a break, or what do you think? I don't want to overwhelm you and then after some time this gets boring and then you say that you lose track of me. So I don't want to do that. But there will be some exercises also. So you will have to work in a little group to do some things. So let's take the break now. Yeah? 10-15.
আমাকে একদম যন্ত্রণা দিচ্ছে। I was almost like going through an experience that I cherish now. আসলে improvement into the biggest.
But the idea was to improve. So you have a chapter in here. Good as I think I've released a lot of energies in this classroom, and we have to channel these energies. While you all sit down, this is the book that I wanted to sort of share with you. This book was the product of about 3 years of work. 3 years of work. No book is done overnight, so please understand. But I also got this out, this came only out this year, 2017. So all business school marketing kara poran hat uthan. You must insist to your librarian and to your board that we want to use this book. Because এই বুকে আমাদের ইন্ডিয়ান, বাংলাদেশি, শ্রীলঙ্কান, পাকিস্তান অনেকগুলো জায়গার থেকে কেস আছে. So you'll be able to relate to this better. The main reason we wrote this book is to reach our students with cases that they can understand. And I think we will have a second version of this very soon. Ashul kotha ki, if we combine energies, we can do much more. So I would encourage all of you to start to look at what resources you have, come up with people with whom you can leverage this resource, and start bringing something out. Start even bringing out a 100-page book. It's not hard to do, believe me, but and you can use us as people to give you feedback, to give you some references and so on and so forth. But you must start. If you don't start, ওই পুকুরের পাড়েই বসে থাকা হবে, পুকুরের পানিটা ঠান্ডা না গরম বোঝা যাবে না, সাঁতারও কাটা হবে না. But you have to take that plunge. If you don't take that plunge, it will never happen. So this is something I would encourage, mainly because I think also you should take pride in the fact that these are edited by two Bangladeshis. Philip Kotler ওরা তো আছেই, yes, but why not also give, this is how it will grow here. So once you begin to use it and other faculty members begin to see this is done by our local boys, then others will get inspired to do this kind of thing. We must contribute to knowledge development. We are far too reliant on the Western world. The books that we bring, the materials that we teach, the notes that we use from, still a lot of it from outside. And I think we must make what I'm sharing with you today in my thing is all just out of my own thing with a very few references. This is all really my experiences that I'm collectively bringing together and sharing with you. So if we can look at the presentations, we've the apples, and you know what you should not be doing. I think what's important is my favorite, as you see, and I will move fast now because I know this is a Saturday, and a Saturday I don't want to keep you for much longer than I need to. You need to have one day to use for yourselves. My favorite is as a potter molds clay in a pot, so a teacher molds life of a student. So you have to see yourself as that potter who molds the student. But I have something even more, which is my favorite. This is the one. The mediocre teacher tells, the teacher explains, the superior teacher demonstrates, and the great teacher inspires. So we have you covered here as well. So you should understand where you are in this. Do some self-reflection. What do I do? And where do I fall in this ranking? It's a good thing for contemplation. Now let's move to my research, active learning. Okay? Apnara, what kind of active learning do you do? I would like to hear first, and then we'll go into other things. This is the business school, I am assuming, right? Business school and economics. Social sciences, more or less. Social science ache ekhane? Kichu jon achen. Do you do? How many of you do active learning in the classroom? Hands up. That's wonderful. So almost 90% of you do active learning in the classroom. Let's hear some examples. Let's start with you.
All right. Well, I think it varies with the kind of courses that we teach us, because nature of the courses sometimes give more opportunities to use active learning or not. What I do, I share small incidents, like short case studies, and try to make a riddle with them, like how do you solve this issue? How do you do the same situation? So they came up with ideas, some concepts, and I find it very interesting to see that even though they might not start the whole theory, but they have from common sense and share their ideas that this can be done in this way also. So I think it's how you bring out the sleeping tide from sleeping and sitting, igniting some thinking, starting how you solve this problem. Toward the end, my course is almost over. Then I start sharing longer case studies, also demonstrative projects like making some sort of advertising story or storyline, and sometimes people act, particularly in courses where advertising is involved and so on.
Good.
So I think there are many opportunities. You can also pick up your.
So if you're teaching marketing, you can see how easy it is. You can just ask them to design an advertisement. That itself, in the classroom, you can just ask them, come up with a theme or come up with a slogan. That's it. That will keep in, and then you break that down to ask them, okay, what was behind it? Why did you do this? And then you can, instead of lecturing, people get bored, and you know that after 5-10 minutes, people get completely tuned out. Ar ke ki korchen class e shuni ekটু? Debates, okay? So you give them a point of view and let them take different sides. Apni ki kon bolen amake just, and I will repeat.
In case of teaching any particular processes which may be related with our practical life, say for example learning buying process. Buying process is relating to our personal life. Then before teaching our buying process, then I invite the students, okay, think about purchasing a particular product, and then try to identify which things you first, later on what you are doing, and maybe 6 or 7 students, they are coming and they are writing their steps, and then later on I try to serial those steps they are following, and then I show the figure. This is the process, how we proceed for buying a particular product or service. Thank you, sir.
Is there anyone who has ever used role playing in the classroom?
Yes, sir.
Very, very important, because you can construct a situation. I used to do this with MBAs in America. So let us say the service, and I used to make a complaining customer, and the bankers who were playing the role, they did not know that the customer would be coming in with a major complaint. Then when they faced it, then we wanted to see how did you address it. So in the classroom, they were immediately sort of simulating a real world situation in which they were posed with a problem. They say, okay, how do we address this? So from advertising to services marketing to product design to all of these things in marketing, you can completely keep them engaged, immersed. Even in my marketing research classes, I took them through all the steps. They had to design a survey, they had to design the sampling plan, they had to go and do the data analysis. And I used to tell them the researchers are storytellers. From the data, you have to tell me a story. That's it. That excited them. That they said that, and I used to say to them, not report. I did not say you have to give me a report. I said you have to tell me a story, and the best story will get a grade and 5 extra points or 10 extra points. That was the incentive, the motivation for them to work really hard. Very interesting. There was an administrator who came to my class, and he said that, how do you engage students in the classroom to talk? And he said to me that if everyone who talks, give them $1, they will begin to talk. And I said, I have a better way, that every time when students talk, I give them 1 point. So he said, no, dollar works better. So right there I said, okay, let's do a poll in the classroom. And in the poll, the students all 100% raised their hand for 1 point. More important than $1. Apnara ekhane you can do those things, little things where you can incentivize a classroom. If you do this, you get an extra point, and you can announce it in the class early or later. These are ways of keeping the class active. So I would encourage you to look at it. So what is active learning? Involves providing opportunity for students to meaningfully talk, listen. But class will be actively involved. There will be humming in the classroom. There will be people debating, discussing. We have a culture where somehow we say, hey, class kotha bolcho keno? Break away from that. get away to the where you want them to talk in the classroom. You want them to discuss something that is important. So give them some control in the classroom. That's when you see this whole idea of active learning. Eh?
According to your, it involves actually providing opportunities and incentives.
Opportunities and incentives. Igno shobi hoche from my, and we can add on to this. And I think you and I should write the next book maybe on active learning in the classroom or something like that. But একটা জিনিস I would like to again open up to all of you. Classes students যারা আসে, they are not homogeneous, are they? So there are different kinds of students in the classroom. So should you take the rifle approach or the shotgun approach? Shotgun approach hoche that you give one thing for everybody, or you decide that there are different kinds of students and you give them a. So today I want to learn from you.
At first shotgun, then rifle.
At first shotgun and then rifle. Just don't bring a machine gun, Tale. That will be the best thing. So let us do one quick 5-minute thing. And I want you to break into groups. First do this individually. In your classroom, what are the different kinds of students that you get? It take to 1 minute yourselves, and then we will break into groups of 4. I would like you to give me back what are the different. I'll give you an example. One example. There is the disengaged student. Okay, class he is busy with his own thing. There are different typologies of students. Let me hear from you in your experience, and I'm doing my research now, understand that. So you will give this back to me. So I understand what goes on in a classroom. Kagoz ache ekটু kagoz niye আসেন না একটুখানি. Please bring some sheets. I'm making you recognize in your classroom what do you deal with. আপনার ক্লাসরুমে আপনারা কি টাইপের ছাত্র পান, খুবই very important. মার্কার পেন আছে, মার্কার পেন এখানে যাবে তো। How you can do your own research. This is actually something, the feedback that I'll get from you will allow me to organize the various traits into a questionnaire. Then I might come back to you, then I will have you rate all of these in the rating scale. Then I will apply to this factor analysis. Then I will be able to group these into different categories, and now you know what we have. We have knowledge not from the Western books, we have knowledge from what we experience here in our country. এই যে active learning এর যে মডেলটা আপনাদেরকে I will share with you, likewise done at Brack University, by bringing up what are the elements of active learning. So let us, the year that you did, let us have first from each group, I'll give you 1 minute to pick 2 of the most positive traits and the 2 of the most negative traits, and then I'll ask each group to give me one, and we will list it up there. We'll come up here to the blackboard, write down the 2 positive, 2 negative ones, and hand me over the piece of paper. 1 from each group. Please come up. Please come. You will hand me the paper and write. Acha, likhe niye amake de. Ha, just there. যেতে থাকেন, আমি good. Where is the EA? Give me a little eraser. Eraser ache? Jay, now I have material to blackmail you. To your students. I'm joking, as you know. But ETA, I do with this. This is what we did with some brainstorming to understand what happens at your university, and I'm sure many of these things will be repeated in all the other universities. Positive traits are very easy to work with in terms of active learning. You can engage them very quickly, they are eager to learn, they want to be interactive, they are performers, hardworking, helpful, active, asking questions, clarification, motivated, proactive student, enthusiastic, curious, and cooperative. Having the quality to clear the box and this. The problem is the negative ones. We can't address all of them now today, but let us take, as a group, how do you deal with these people? How do you deal, and we will not be able to take all of them. Let us take two of these. Let us take the one that is, let us say, disengaged, and let us take one. Disengaged is also, I would say, reluctant to work. But also disengaged means psychologically absent, disengaged means lack of concentration. So you can see that there are some commonalities. I chose this because I can see that this is a very major dimension in our classrooms. The other, as you can see, dreaming, irregular, she disengaged. She is not excited, lethargic, she disengaged. Disengaged is a very big dimension. Active learning is engaging them. You with me? So let us talk about how do you engage the disengaged ones. What are your thoughts? What can you do in the classroom to make them, why do you think they're disengaged, and what can we do to make them engage? Let us open this up to the class. Yes.
Thank you, sir. I think we need to get to the root cause. Even though this seemed to be the only one case, that he called them because this is the trouble child. Alright. So I tried several times to call them in. Try the root cause. Many social issues. Our students go through this sort of ordeal in their lives. But many of them can only refer to psychologists or psychologists or things like that. But some of them have academic issues also. They did bad in the previous courses, and that's their head. So they have a sort of inner sense that I cannot do it, I cannot do this. And that we can help, we can motivate. But many of them, you'll be surprised to know how many social issues they carry with them when they come over here. They're like, I mean, they have they're still it's very difficult for them to be situations. At their stage, at that age, probably have issues myself. So I think, even though you can see the same symptoms, but the root causes are different, and many of them have social and psychological issues.
Do you all agree, more or less, that many students come, they have actually family problems, they have financial problems, they have psychological problems, they have all kinds of issues. As teachers, we have to be sensitive to those things.
I'll add to that, sir, this urban-rural issue, because many of them come from after being intermediate, they are not
urban-rural, it's an adjustment issue. Yeah. They're not being able to adjust, and therefore, okay?
inferiority complex থেকে হয়
inferiority complex থেকে আসছে, right? So to talk about
আন্ডারস্ট্যান্ড করছে না, তাদের বিষয় ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজ ইস্যু, so we recognize this. How do we get them to engage in that? Classroom at the Saturday, আমরা বলছি that what we have to do is to engage in the classroom. Because without engaging them, they are not processing the information. If they are not processing the information, it is not going down. For example, let us just look at the next slide very quickly. How do people learn? And this is, I can get out of some other source, and you can see that how much they learn and remember. If you only read to them, or make them read, they will only retain 10% of the knowledge. As you move up the chain, as you move up to teach the activity, simulate the activity, and participate in it, then you'll see that learning becomes much more. I don't know if anyone may never learn 100%, but it's at least an indication that if we take the general principle behind it, which is that as you begin to engage in more and more, they begin to learn more and more. And what we see is verbal learning, visual learning, and action learning. This disengaged students, what do you think if we work with the group, get their attention back in the class? Is there something? Yes. So, as they come here, they're not used to the new social circumstances. Things will break down for them, they don't get good grades. Brand University has something like this where in the first semester, those who go into probation, as we call it, and probation is 0 to 2.0 average, I don't know 1.5 in each. Because 2 means still a C. So C they to ache, so let us not demotivate them by putting them in the exactly. So by 2 we keep an eye on them, but we don't put them in the probation place. As soon as they enter the probation place, they become remotely motivated. So the idea is to do the really deficient ones. Then we have 3 levels. Mandatory classes. একটা আমরা করি যে student affairs ওরা হ্যান্ডেল করে একটা part. And the third part is handled by what we are saying is to engage them, and we basically have a mechanism for paying the borrowings for their language. They can teach them what you will peer, and so as a result, that can happen. So,
they arrange special classes for them. Right. Remedial classes. একটা হচ্ছে যেটা যে ক্লাসের সঙ্গে যেটা থাকে ওই টিউটোরিয়াল থাকে, একটা remedial আর একটা assistance. You open up as many doors as you can for them, because remember, একটাই objective আমাদের, the success of my students. The biggest objective is not to fail them and say, fail করেছে তো কি হলো? We have to care about them. Deep down, যদি if we don't care about our students, I don't think we are in the business of what we are doing. If they have somehow succeeded through the admission test, they have met certain criteria, যে এদেরকে মানুষ করা যাবে, then it becomes the university's responsibility from various angles to see how we can maintain. এটার কিন্তু কিছু financial implications আছে. Think about it. If you have a 25% dropout, they have not gone through the 3-4 years. Financially, okay, you do the math. So you have to put your heart and soul into it to see how you retain them. Yes?
What is your opinion about improvement tests? এই যে এরা হঠাৎ খারাপ করলো, আমরা রিমেডিয়াল দিয়েছি ভালো বললাম, আগে যে একটা এক্সাম খারাপ করলো, ওটা রিমেডিয়াল করা যায় কিনা মেকআপ?
What is my opinion on improvement tests? I think, again, if we are really they're philosophically committed, if we want to see the success of the students, then we must give them as many opportunities as we can, number one. But the improvement test requires your faculty to believe in this, because it means extra work for the faculty. And if each of them are teaching 4 course loads, and each of them have 30-40 students, of which let us say 25, মানে আরো 100 জনকে আবার পরীক্ষা দিতে হবে, এখানে আমার কোনো clear cut answer নাই. I think it is about what is the philosophical, and do you want to reward your faculty for that? If you want to do that, then you will see failure at Beregis. Because then they will be rewarded for. So nothing is in black and white. So this thing has to be worked out. So I think what we have done very, very quickly is to identify all of these things. And because of the lack of time, some other day maybe we can arrange another session where we can just come here and spend 2 hours just working on this. How do we get these people motivated and become active learners? I think you need to do more group works within I would ask the deans to organize, where now you have some data to work with. You know, আগে ছিল assumptions, each one of you had your own hypothesis. Now what we have is a list of what we can work with and see which items we should be taking on. But I think the objective is to drive them in this path. Maybe we don't do this because many of us are only lecturing in the classroom. We're not actually actively engaging. I would like to believe all of these the category of students in the negative zone, if you can get them to actively work. Even in this classroom, as I saw today, as I began to engage you actively, I saw not all of you had the same motivation to come on a Saturday morning. But I saw all of you were vibrantly engaged, talking about things, discussing things, because you give them an opportunity to open up, to give their own opinions. Now that's when they feel that my voice is important, my opinion is important. In the classrooms, if you can target these students and say, আচ্ছা বলো তো তোমার কি মনে হয় এটা নিয়ে, let them give an opinion and never down them in the class. Never tell them কিচ্ছু বুঝো না, কিচ্ছু জানো না. Always start with a positive, I think that's a great idea, but let's hear some other views. Yes.
Is it permissible to ask, my name is Rehan, is it permissible to ask one student to help the other in front of all the students, or it's a no-go area? What do you think?
Is it permissible to ask other students to help the students? Yeah, you do that in groups. That's why you assign group work in the class, so that they can learn from each other. That's where the weaker students are being helped by the stronger students. But in the classroom, if you have an individual identifier, then say help him, that does not work at all. Psychologically, that creates a whole new dimension. That's why you do picking up in the classroom. You do, your groups 2 or 3. You do all kinds of other ways of engaging. So you don't want to isolate it out and say, oh, you need help, so let him help you. Yes. Acha, I'll repeat.
The issue is that in a class, there are very engaged, disengaged, and huge moderate. So 24 class for 1 hour 20 minutes with the exams and everything. Where should be my focus lies? If I focus on them, the top performer will be left. I mean, I have got a certain with the 4 classes or 3 classes, whichever.
I'll tell you which group do you address. If you have, will be. I think you might want to find a middle ground where you engage everybody. Middle ground. But here's the thing. And this is again a struggle at Brack University. The struggle is, remember, the faculty members are open to student evaluations. And what we are finding is that the student evaluation that has been there for the last 5 to 10 years or longer does not coincide with this active learning framework. That evaluation framework is stuck to midterm and final exam. So if you're focused on midterm and final exam, that means you are focused on covering your syllabus and you are essentially asking the students to prepare for the exam, not for real learning. So ei jagate, and these things don't happen overnight. You're talking about total cultural change. It is a culture change that we need. So what we need is that evaluation system that should conform to classroom type of things, but a alignment na howa porjonto teachers will teach to the evaluation, because at the end of the day they are interested about their evaluations. How am I going to get evaluated? So again, I don't know what your evaluation questions are, but it is time for us forward-looking universities to tell faculty, if you engage in this kind of activities, your evaluation will be in this manner so that you're rewarded. Otherwise, why will a faculty member spend time doing this active learning when they're really evaluated for other things? Did you complete, mane chhatroder ask kora hoy syllabus complete kora hoyeche kina? One of the questions. Now the syllabus completion is important, but not in terms of chapter by chapter by chapter. What is important is take those 5 learning goals that you want them to learn, integrate them in those chapters, not by lecturing but doing all these other in-class activities and projects and assignments and all these other ways. But this is fundamental to the organizations. And I can tell you this much, that because we are starting to think in this manner, we are now involving groups to start giving us some more feedback. This cannot unilaterally impose on faculty members saying you must have their buy-in. And again, this will not happen in 1 year. This will evolve over time. Once there is all agreement, this is how we should actually evaluate, then you will see how the faculty member will link up to their evaluation. Evaluation of faculty member is very important. And we suddenly realize that we are doing all of this, but our evaluation system is the same old one. These are not aligned. So now we have to bring an alignment there. That's the thing that we have to do. All right? So, with that, and we can go on, like I said, for 3 days. This is so rich an area that on every issue that we have, we can talk. But let me just complete my syllabus so that you at least get to see my model. So here's the 3 types of students that I felt were among the year with a discussion with my faculty members. This is actually done by my Pro-Vice Chancellor. So he comes and says, based on this, that there is the disengaged students. They are basically surface learners who seek primarily to avoid failure. Certificate jonno, studying to the how not fail. In the classroom, they often become surface learners, never willing to invest enough time to probe a topic deeply. Ei jagatate amaderke ashte hobe, all of us. How do you get students to probe? Now, if you have 5 areas, perhaps you can start with by giving students to say, by ekta area te probe koro deep. Other ones you can be, at least let them get a deep understanding of something, a syllabus that they can take away forever. Because once they become these deep learners, once they become these people who go much deeper into it, we learning kintu tara bhule na. The learning that they forget is when they prepare for the exam, they memorize. At the end of 5 days after the final exam, it's all evaporated. Maybe 1 to 5% rakhte parche. But if you really want them to retain some of the things, I'll give you an example. I took an advanced statistics course at Urbana-Champaign in which we had a 15-week class. First 3 weeks was spent on reviewing the fundamentals, what you need to be able to get into this course. Next 12 weeks, there were nothing but 12 homeworks, that's it. Now, 12 homeworks, by the time we had done this was self-learning, by the way. A lot of, in advanced courses, they expect you not to learn from so much with the teachers who gives you guidance, but you get deep into it. You start become this problem solver. Those 12 homeworks kept us awake nights thinking of how to address this. And this takes me back to IBA. IBA, I am talking about 1978, 79, when I had started giving take-home exams. And the faculty at IBA were up in arms. They were saying that ekjon arekjon theke dekhbe, churi korbe, etc., etc. I said, let's wait and see. So the students were also very happy. Take home, we can talk, discuss, and that was my intention, that you talk and discuss. But when they got the exam and when they started looking at it, they saw nothing was in the book. It was all application. If you go into Bloom's taxonomy, how many of you know Bloom's taxonomy? A lot of you know this. It's not about knowledge, it's about comprehension, analysis, synthesis, application, evaluation. That's how you make them learn. And somehow at that time I did not know Bloom's taxonomy, but I knew that once they do this take-home exam, even if they learn from each other, they're learning something. That's the important thing. The only thing I would not allow is plagiarism, copying from one another. And there were events where I did find that, and people were very harshly graded. You have to establish that also, that you are also going to be a fair grader and you're going to be a tough grader. So, ওখান থেকে যেটা the learning that occurred, those learnings remained with those students forever. You know, and I repeat this, one day I was at Sonargaon, and a student of mine, who I did not recognize because he had grown white beard and all, came, held my hands, almost my feet, and said, "Sir, I learned one thing from you in the communication class. The difference between ITS and IT apostrophe S." এই যে লার্নিংটাও তার হয়েছিল সেই 79, he repeated this to me only 1 or 2 years ago. These are the kinds of deep impacts that you want to have. That is how you transform lives. And why did that happen? Because I think Raihan will know that how their scripts used to be red marked. Business communication, you had to be good writing. If you did not give me good writing, and I heard from your faculty member here who has 2 chapters in my book, how much editing I did to make sure that it conforms to quality standards. And of course, we all write. I never write a piece, the final piece, unless it has gone through the 6th or 7th edit. First edit, second edit, I'm never happy with it, never with the third or fourth edit. So because once you have published something, it's there forever. And I don't want an opportunity for people to say, "Oi dekho, ei jinish ache." I think we should all take this as what I should say. Your self-esteem, your self-worth, yourself is vitally important. Someone else whose article, cable and back there, for the Journal of Bangladesh Studies, his article was sent back to you how many times?
4 times.
4 times I sent back the article, because I said that this needs to fit, or this needs to be rewritten, this needs to be done. That's how you build quality into life. If you don't do this, then what is the point of view of mere existence? Mere existence is not good enough. I don't think so. So, going on, there is the enthusiastic learners that you out of this. I think these three summarize a lot. And the third one is the active learner. These are the deep learners who respond primarily to the difference between the enthusiastic learner. Enthusiastic learner, such learners frequently are interested in making high grades, but seldom willing to grapple deeply enough. They are the strategic learners. I'll get a high grade, etar jonno what I have to do. But then there are the ones, the deep learners. These are the agents, and you have to move people into this zone. No matter what kind of learners, your goal as a university is to create deep learners.